On my panel this morning, on my immediate right is Kenyan as a political analyst at the center, Victor Marende, so too is he. And on my far right is Darius Okello, economist. Of course, Darius, I'll come to you on this. First thing is first. Clearly, we have many things at hand. And to just quote what Musalia Mudavadi did say, that I was the finance minister, and this is just a shortcut of getting funds is in taxing the energy sector because it's a low-lying fruit. He continued to say that if the National Treasury is not careful, the sector, without considering the status of the economy, we are in the midst of a danger and it's likely going to continue. Therefore, we have seen the slapping of the 16% VAT on petroleum products. Clearly, the mood music in the country is that of one to the detriment of a deprived taxpayer. Which way out for Wanjiku?
First of all, I think we have to clarify a number of issues here. You look at the fuel prices over the years. This is not the first time we're getting into the 120-something territory. I mean, we were here in 2011, we were here in 2013, and the consumption didn't drop as much. So increase in fuel prices alone is not a key determinant of how to tell how the economy will react to that price increases. What is unique about where we are at this point is the private sector is contracting. The government has stopped all development projects. So you're imposing these fuel prices within a context that is very shaky, that is very fragile. So that is the key difference between the fuel prices increases that we have right now and what has happened in the past. So there are very few choices again that we have because this is pegged on a loan that we took back in 2013. So the loan has to be repaid. But also you have to look at it in terms of the fact that as much as the loan has to be repaid, the kind of economy we are in right now, you'll not be able to collect the 75 billion that they are targeting because you'll see a massive drop in terms of the economic activity and consumption of the fuel. So maximum maybe 30 billion they'll get out of this. It wasn't the best decision. Okay, and then 30 in the next 4 years. Clearly, mathematically, they have 120 billion. The debt by the IMF, rather, International Monetary Fund, is 500 billion. Yeah. It's still a deficit of about 380 billion. How do we bridge that gap? I mean, narrowing that false perception which is set at the moment by the Treasury Ministry. First of all, we are at a very unique place as a country because we've maxed out borrowing, but we've also maxed out taxation, and our private sector is contracting. There are very few countries in history that have been at that place. Most often when you look at the lost decade that Japan encountered in the 90s, what happened was it was an asset bubble. So the government was performing, the issue was in the private sector. Same with America in 2008, it was the subprime mortgage. So you rarely find an economy where you're in the kind of crisis where the three dynamics are all in a mess. And so at this point, we don't have an easy way out. Okay. This is going to be grueling.
Okay, coming to you, Victor Marende at the center. Clearly, it's a move that is going to hit where it hurts most, and there needs to be a way out of this. And Parliament has been postponing this since 2013. And according to Kenyan Member of Parliament, Kanini Kega, they were duped by the government that the suspension was just about the plan of Kenya, the exploration of Turkana oil, and that in the next 3 years until September 2016, then by that we will start exporting our oil. And that has never been the reality as we speak. Therefore, has Parliament been a setback to a deprived taxpayer in this case because it hasn't been up to the game in terms of fulfilling or rolling out its obligation pertaining the welfare of a concerned taxpayer out there?
Good morning to our viewers. Now, on responding to this, we have to know the history of all this. Number one, this was imposed on us and forced on us by the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. Now, the assurance to taking this loan was that we will impose some VAT on our petroleum products. That has been a detriment all this time because the Kenyan Parliament has not been able to deal with this issue conclusively. Now, when you talk about an extension of 3 years, then the next time you extend it to 2 years, and a budget proposal comes to Parliament in 2018, and the same parliamentarians today who are telling us, let's go out, let's slash all this, let's riot about it, read it in the budget proposal, and the only thing they could do was to do another postponement for another 2 years. So it means we are procrastinating a problem that we are coming to deal with in 2020 in September again. So conclusively as a country, we have been duped. And we have to ask fundamental questions to this. Who is duping the country? Number one, the International Monetary Fund has always in the past made decisions that have hurt particular economies. And when you even check in West Africa, when Mali was worst hit by the Ebola disease, now it was a misadvice by the International Monetary Fund to reduce cost on the health funding, so that then they would exceed and almost give some surplus to some particular areas in the economy, and it seriously failed. The same thing happened in 1994 in Indonesia, when they had misadvised Indonesia seriously on economic issues, and later confessed that this was a mistake, and we own up. So then today we are in a situation where we are being forced to tax our petroleum products. Now, one fact has to come out clearly, that Kenyans are willing to pay tax. That is very clear. Kenyans are always willing to pay tax. But then we have to know the returns on our tax, number one. Number two, we have to interrogate. Because when the government and the international West partners target petroleum products, they're targeting everyone. Now, this is tax that touches on each and every Kenyan. The mama mboga back at home will pay this because then they use mafuta taa. Now, the common mwananchi in town will also pay this. And it hurts most that as this goes up, today you realize that fare to this place has increased on a matatu by 20 shillings. From where I come from to town, it's another 10 shillings plus. So then cumulatively, you find a common Kenyan coming to this place on a daily basis has an increase of almost 1,000 shillings on his budget. Now, if the government is very serious that they want to collect tax, yes, we are widening our scope economically, but then does it make any economic sense? And when I talk about economic sense in this, number one, our incomes have not gone up as Kenyans. So if I'm earning 10,000 shillings per month, and I was spending 100 shillings on bus fare, for example, then it means for me to now use the same services I was using, have to cut on another cost. Now, say for example, I was using 2 kgs of sugar in a month. Then I now cut that cost, that expenditure, to maybe 1 kg of sugar per month. It means I'm denying government tax in less consumption of sugar, so that then I give them tax on consumption of petroleum fuel. Now, does it make any economic sense? If I was to give them 10 shillings on tax, I'm still giving that 10 shillings on tax. So the government should rethink this discussion. And number one, the conceptual West must stop the manipulation of the African continent.
Kerry, let me come to you on this. Clearly, he points out that the IMF has misled or misadvised other countries, and the examples are, of course, logic and they are in history. But again, it all signals to an administration that has thrown its people, its citizens, under the bus. Clearly, it's the same Henry Rotich who said the government is broke and trying now to tax, a low-lying fruit, according to Musalia Mudavadi. What is it trying to, seek in this or pursuing an ambition that's likely to fail? Because at the end of the day, what is going to be gathering in the next 4 years will not be even making up 30% of the larger 500 billion that is supposed to pay back or, get as a backup to the national budget of 2018-2019. Does it make sense?
Good morning, viewers. One of the things I would like to say from the onset is that the IMF gave a proposal. It did not hold a gun on anybody's head to force them to implement the tax. And I would like Kenyans to know that the tax being introduced is a tax on another tax, because the fuel that we are paying already was already taxed. So this is a tax being introduced on a tax, something that has never happened anywhere in the world. So it is an illegality, and I would like to call the finance minister to order and remind him that Article 129 of the Constitution states that executive authority must be exercised in a manner, 129.2, that is beneficial for the people, to the people of Kenya. And what we have failed to understand, Ayubo, is the fact that the country now, and I know something that most of us don't want to accept, is in an economic slowdown. This country is headed for a very serious economic slump. And the people at Treasury sat on the comfort zones because they found economic policies and reserve monies created by the efficient way in which the Kibaki administration had run Treasury, despite the fact that we had post-election violence. But after post-election violence, you realize that most key sectors of the economy were registering tremendous growth, despite the hiccups. But from this administration's first 4 years, this is not a crisis that has come up now. This crisis came up in 2013. And when they realized that they had spent the reserves that had been left by Kibaki carelessly, that is how now the IMF advised them the only way you can get back on track is introduce this tax. But IMF did not tell them that if you don't introduce this tax, then we will kill you. IMF just gave a proposal. So it was up to the people at Treasury to say, if we tax fuel, we put this tax on fuel, it's going to hurt our people, because that is their mandate. And then they look on of a creative way in which they can source for funds within our economy to finance. I can tell you for free, Ayub, that the broadening of the tax base would have arrested the issue of the 78 billion that is supposed to be paid per year. Or even if you seal the tax loopholes and restructure the KRA into a professional unit, we would be able to bridge some of these budget deficits we are seeing. So it is not necessarily a must that every time we have a cash crunch somewhere, we go back to taxing. That is a lazy way of implementing budget proposals. And again, it is not a must again that some of these projects must be done. If we are hard up, why don't we give up? And I would like to advise the president, if he's watching, to now go back to something that he may need very soon. He may need an economic stimulus package because our economy already is going under. And if we don't incentivize this economy, we might not be able to meet our budgetary obligations.